Hey, all, it's Dinosaur. I'm actually probably gonna go by a new moniker. Dinosaur's is getting kind of old. I was told to use Gustav. I guess, and then it's something different. So it's Gustav. I'm talking about actually today. One of the films that actually came out this summer already, A Million Ways to Die. Now, this comes from the same creator of Ted and I think Seth. Forget his name, but Seth's on that. They were going to create this movie in order to um, just as a comedy in the western, and basically this movie itself. Um, it was just really. You have to be really drunk to think it's funny. It's very cliche, and it wasn't even that original. Like a lot of the stuff you would see is just something you would see elsewhere. You'd see it on Family Guy. Now I know it comes from the same creator of Family Guy, but there was very little originality in it. I thought. I didn't think the jokes, like every time you turn around, the F word was used. F this, F that, or something. And there were some cliches that were just so overdone. It was just like, really? There were a few funny moments, but basically the whole story circles around Andy Stark, which he is a sheep farmer in the middle of the frontier. Now he goes into this whole West town just kind of seeing what's going on here, and then he has this kind of adventure where he meets people, and he eventually meets this one girl, and this one girl was nice to him, and they start talking, developing a friendship. This is Charlie Theron's character. Um, and what goes on throughout this film is they build a friendship, and then what the whole thing centers around is Andy Stark is broken up with his ex girlfriend, who's now with this douchebag with a mustache, and he thinks he's just a total idiot, and then and the girl that he's now talking to, Charlie Theron's character, said, "Hey, I'll go be your date for the fair. Um, why? We'll just make him get revenge and just piss her off." And what was interesting during the whole film, they're like, "The West sucks. The West sucks. I hate this. I hate this. The West sucks." And it was like the movie passed so fast. It was just, it wasn't that great. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I gotta watch it again. I don't know. I mean, to compare some things here, the Liam Neeson brought some entertainment to it. Yes, Liam Neeson has done a lot of things. Actually, was I think very few of actual westerns I've seen him in, and he was actually okay in this. But he's like, okay, someone's gonna come and die in this crappy town, and he was there. Now, during the whole thing, you have tons of cameo. You have some cameos, and you have that. So they go to the fair, and then the Andy and the new boyfriend of his ex girlfriend have a shootout, with the sport shooting range, and then he loses 6 cents. And then his new girl, the girl is acting to be his girlfriend, challenges the guy for $1, and they're like, nobody has $1. And then the girl just owns him with double handling the pistols, and he pulls out the dollar, and everybody's take your hat off. It's $1. Nobody has that out here. It was just like, wow, really? Okay, that was just kind of like, wow. I'm sorry. And then it's late. And I was just going, I cannot believe they put that in there. It's just lame. It was just boring. But then, like, later on, she takes him off to the hills and he eats pot cookies and gets stoned and thinks he could talk to prairie dogs, which was kind of funny. And, and then he finds out later on throughout the film, and this is spoiler alert, that the girl he's hanging out with is actually the wife of the outlaw playing Liam Neeson character named Clench. Now, it's the trivial story where he wants revenge because Andy kissed his wife, and it's his wife and his territory and all that ground stuff, which is true, I can say that. But there were some interesting cameos, and I really was expecting some of these cameos to appear. One, I didn't realize this till after I saw the cameo, was the Back to the Future. Doc Brown in the DeLorean appeared in the movie. And he did his great Scott, and they put the Back to the Future music. Of course, he looks dramatically older than back then when he did it. He appeared, but then it's the same town where Back to the Future Part 3 was filmed. And there was a scene because there was the showdown on the street, and one of them was Andy with the big mountain in the background, and that was the same thing with, I remember clearly, with Marty McFly. It was the same thing, where he had the big mountain background. Same kind of street setup. So there's some coolness to that. But the other thing about the film is that he's running for his life on that because the bad guys are catching up for him, and he bumps into the Indians. And the Indians are like, okay, you're an asshole, we're going to burn you at the stake. And the guy Andy Stark starts screaming in Indian, or Koji, or whatever, he's, stop, don't do this. And they're like, how do you know to speak our language? He says, the white men are assholes, but I'm an asshole nerd. He's like, because they don't like me, I read a lot of books and languages and math, and I read your language and I could speak it. So he's like, well, you could speak our language, then maybe you could be trusted. So they bring him down. So then he tells them his story and like how he likes this girl, but he doesn't know what to do. So they give him a thing. Well, and it's one of those moments of peer pressure where it was kind of funny, but not really. But he's like, he gets the thing. He's like, oh man, no, this is another pot thing, isn't it? They're like, you troll, nerd, wuss. Come on, drink it, man. So he says, all right, I'll drink it. So he drinks it, but he drinks it all. He says, dude, that was for the whole tribe. You're going to totally freak out and die. And he totally freaks out, and then he finally gets the answer what he needs to do. And in simplification, he finally catches up with Liam Neeson's character, and then actually shoots him in the arm. But then Liam Neeson's characters die because he tipped it. Get this, a hollow point bullet in the Old West. Huh? That wasn't really developed until recently. The hollow points, it was always tipped. So he has a hollow point with rattlesnake poisoning that went into his shoulder and killed him. This movie was just whacked. It was like just cliched up the wazoo. It had the potential of being awesome on that, and it was boring. It was absolutely boring. There was no character chemistry with anyone in the film. I mean, I really thought it's just really boring. I remember the sheriff in the movie. He starred in the movie Wyatt Earp, I believe, as one of the Clantons. On that, it's just boring. You watch it, and you're just like, okay, now what? Now what new cliche thing are they gonna do? Definitely not worth a theater thing. I would say give it like one thumb up and going to see in instant Amazon Video on a free day. It was that bad. It's just like, oh boy, this is dumb. This is stupid. And you know, it's just it's little things like that that run the film. Now, a comparison you could make to this film was another Western comedy called Blazing Saddles, which Blazing Saddles was kind of full of originality and just great comedy. It was comedy is so hard to do, but what's so sad about it is that film, Blazing Saddles, there was swearing, but there was a lot of real thought out comedy that was just, it worked. I mean, one of the things I believe is Gene Wilder. He says, you see this hand? It's totally solid. And he says, but I shoot with this hand, and that was funny. Or having the what's his name, black sheriff say, "Where the white women at?" Just stupid shit like that. Hilarious. And that was great. That was great comedy. And then having the asshole people in there, mixing it up. This one was just so cliche, except the Doc Brown thing was kind of neat. And I think the way they could have really twisted that together is that if Doc Brown maybe shot one of the guys with that rifle he had back in that era, but it looks like, judging by his clothes and everything, he just showed up in time. So if you want to look at it on a historical basis, if this movie is considered canon to Back to the Future, this was the town and this is the events in the town before Marty McFly came back. So it's interesting. It's definitely a possibility and definitely interesting. I thoroughly liked the whole that part, but the rest of it was just and then at the very end they live on the farm together and with full of all their sheep. And it's just really, this is dumb. They could have done this more, just so much more about this, but it's truly great comedy. It's very hard to get. I heard Ted was good, and I've never seen it, but I heard that is really good. But this one was just like, I mean, it's just, it was boring throughout the whole film. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend watching it until it's free on that or on television. It's not worth your money. It's just kind of boring. Because of all the cliche stuff, other than a couple of scenes, which were hilarious. But I'll let you all figure it out. Anyway, this is Gustav. I hope you all having a great evening. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.